Hey guys, it's Aman
and Christina
from Our Rich Journey. On today's video, we are talking about buying a home here in Portugal. In particular, we are talking about the mistakes that people make when they buy a home here in Portugal. If you know our story, you know that Christina and I recently purchased a home here on the Silver Coast of Portugal, and we are in the process of buying another home here in Portugal. And since we've been on this journey, we have learned a lot about real estate here in Portugal. We have talked to so many other expats that have bought homes here in Portugal. And in this video, we want to share the mistakes so that you can use them as lessons learned when you come here to Portugal to buy your primary residence or an investment property here.
So if you're new to our channel is all about making money, saving money, and investing money on the road to financial independence. Aman and I pursued financial independence for 8 years. We reached that goal, quit our jobs as federal government employees, and retired here in Portugal. So if you're interested in learning more about Portugal, about financial independence, or about saving, making, and investing money, make sure you subscribe to our channel. But like Aman said, in today's video, we are going to be talking about the common mistakes people make when purchasing real estate here in Portugal. And we're going to start off with the first mistake, which is not working with multiple real estate agents.
So we've been fortunate enough to buy 4 houses in the US and 1 house here in Portugal. And when we purchased our homes in the US, the MLS, the Multiple Listing Service, is a database full of all of the homes that are on the market. We have the ability to see everything that is available for sale. But here in Portugal, there is no equivalent system. Now, there are certain websites that list properties, but those are not all of the available properties that are for sale. So typically, when you are buying a home here in Portugal, if you work with one agent, that agent is only going to show you the homes that they have listed with their agency. And so you may be missing out on a great deal of other properties. If you're working with the Century 21 agent, they're only going to show you Century 21 properties. If you're working with a RE/MAX agent, they're only going to show you those properties. So this is a mistake that people often make when they're looking for homes here in Portugal. They work with one agent, and that agent is only showing them a portion of the available properties that are on the market. Now, some agents will show other properties outside of their agency's properties, but you really have to push for it.
Now, the next mistake is not getting a lawyer or a solicitor involved. Now, the process of purchasing a home in Portugal is that a notary is always involved. Now, the notary's role is to make sure that all the documents are in place and that the taxes are paid. But a notary is a neutral party. They don't work in the best interests of the buyer, and they don't work in the best interests of the seller. By hiring a lawyer or a solicitor to help you through the process, they are working in your best interests. We used an attorney when we purchased this property here. Now, lawyers or solicitors, they are very helpful in the process because they're going to do things like check the legal status of the property, check the title of the property, draw up contracts and promissory notes. But one of the really important things that they also do is they check whether or not the property has a mortgage or any type of debts attached to it. Because here in Portugal, anyone that purchases a home that has mortgages or debts attached to it, that new buyer inherits those debts. It is attached to the property. So if you buy a property that has a debt attached to it, then you assume that debt and you have to pay off that debt.
The next mistake that people make is they don't understand the zoning or the permitted things that they can do with the piece of property that they're gonna buy. And let me explain, because a lot of expats come to Portugal and they have these grandiose dreams of buying a piece of property and building a pool or building an addition, doing all of these changes to the property, only to find that the zoning requirements do not allow them to make those types of changes. Or they buy a property and they plan on tearing down the property and building something completely new. Well, here in Portugal, historical preservation is very important. So you just can't buy a piece of property and totally flatten it without going through certain permitting processes. And so it's very important that when you buy a piece of property here, that you understand all of these requirements.
And this leads to our next mistake, which is buying properties that have illegal units on them. There are properties in Portugal that exist that have illegal or unauthorized structures on them. So when you are going through the process of looking at properties, you want to make sure that each property that you're interested in has all of the proper permitting documentation to show that all of the units and all the construction on the property has been permitted and is legally authorized.
Now, in our particular situation, our home was built 10 years ago, and so we asked for all of the plans and specs and all of the permits that the owner received when they constructed this home. So that was something that was very valuable to us and gave us peace of mind in buying this particular property. The next mistake, and this is a big one, is that people fail to negotiate hard when it comes to buying a home here. Now, when we were looking at our homes, we were very hard negotiators, and we'll talk about a strategy that we used. But most people, when they're looking at homes online here in Portugal, they see the sticker price and they don't think about how much more lower they can get that price. Well, it's quite common to negotiate a lower price here in Portugal, and that is exactly what we did. But we are very aggressive investors, and so we were able to bring down the price significantly. In fact, our home was originally listed at $250, but we were able to get the price down to $190 thanks to our aggressive negotiations.
So something to keep in mind, when sellers are listing their home here in Portugal, they are listing a higher price because they understand that there's going to be some negotiation involved and that they're typically going to get a lower price. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, if you live in another country where housing prices are higher and you see these prices listed in Portugal, don't just assume that they're great deals because they are more reasonably priced than your home country. Understand that prices are negotiable here in Portugal, and you should definitely make all efforts to negotiate a lower sales price.
Another mistake that people often make is they don't understand the weather and the heating and cooling systems here in Portugal. If you are looking for a home in Portugal and you happen to be looking during the warm season, you must also take into consideration how cold it can get here in Portugal. And if you buy a home that does not have a good heating system, you will be seriously regretting that. In fact, the home that we bought here, we looked for it in the summertime when the weather was amazing. But if we did not have a heating system, we would be in for a terrible surprise come winter. In fact, just the other day, it was -0 degrees. It was -1 degree Celsius here in our neighborhood on the Silver Coast. But thankfully, we have a great heating system here, and so the cold weather did not bother us. But many people, in the excitement of finding a home here in Portugal, failed to look at little things like this.
So if you miss these things, that could be a huge cost that you have to tack on later after you've already negotiated the sales price, because you'd have to install heating systems, potentially cooling systems, and pay for those services to get them installed. So it can be really, really expensive.
The next mistake is failing to look at the neighboring businesses and industry surrounding the property that you will be buying. You see, things can change drastically from one neighborhood to the next here in Portugal. If you are living in a big city like Lisbon, your neighbors really, really matter, because you could be looking at an apartment that could be right next to a restaurant or a bar that cooks something that you don't like or makes all types of noise at certain times of the evening. And if you live out in the country, you want to make sure that your neighbor is not burning his trash. So when you are evaluating properties, don't just look at your property, look at the other properties surrounding yours so that you can identify any problem neighbors that you might have.
So a great way to learn more about your property in the surrounding area is to walk the neighborhood more and go during different times of the day and different days of the week. We have a property close to us that is for sale, and it's for sale for more than $1 million. But one of the things is it is located right across the street to a church. And I was going past that property on a Sunday. And on that Sunday, there were tons of cars parked in front of that property that is selling for more than $1 million. Now, people that are interested in that property aren't going to know about that unless they are visiting it during different days of the week, and especially on Sunday. So you want to make sure that you're checking out that property at different times of the day and different days of the week.
The next mistake is not renting first. You see, Christina and I rented for 1 year before we finally purchased our home here in Portugal. And we think that by renting, we were able to actually get a better deal because we understood the market a lot better after living here 1 year. I know many of you are so excited to buy a home here in Portugal, and you may be enticed to buying a home before even moving here. Maybe you're gonna buy it online, maybe you buy it when you come here out on a trip. But if you can rent first, if you can live here for a little bit of time, you will save a lot more money. For one, you will know where the deals are, you will establish relationships with real estate agents, and in turn, you will save a lot more money. You may be throwing away money on rent, but look at it as an investment in the deal that you're eventually gonna get when you go to buy your home here. And the last point, and this is one that we have been getting questions about quite often. If you know about our transaction, you know that we bought our home here cash. And some of you were questioning, why didn't we finance our home here? Well, this is a part of our buying strategy. Now, if you have the ability to buy a home cash, you may be able to get a much better deal because cash is a great negotiating tool when it comes to getting a deal on real estate.
So in our situation, we were able to negotiate almost 25% off of the original asking price because we were offering cash. A cash offer means that there's gonna be no problems with financing and the closing process is a lot quicker. So that incentivizes sellers to agree to a lower asking price in many cases.
Another huge benefit with using all cash is that we were able to avoid a lot of the transaction fees that take place when you're trying to get a mortgage. And now I can already hear a lot of people out there saying interest rates are at their lowest ever. You would have had a little bit of money coming out of your pocket every month, but we believe that because we were showing up with cash and not financing, we were getting our savings in the form of a lower buying price and the reduced transaction fees. You see, you have to run these numbers and identify what's the better option for you. But with our style of buying homes and as aggressive as we are, we felt that making cash offers was the best strategy for us. So those are the mistakes that people often make when they are buying a home here in Portugal. Christina and I are going to be buying another home very soon, and we are so excited to share that journey with you. This is going to be an investment property that we buy here in Portugal. And so if you guys want to keep up with our home purchase process here in Portugal, please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and as usual, join the journey.